What's good, y'all? Welcome back. Obviously, I have not been good at recording since the playoffs have started. We are at the end of round two. Basically, two teams have made the conference finals, and we have two game sevens on Sunday. And I have not really talked about the playoffs at all on the channel. Obviously, sometimes life happens, and you just get very busy. And with college and stuff, it tends to happen. You tend to get very busy, but semester's over. Trying to get back to it, consistent. The season's nearing. We're going to be close to the finals soon. Like, it's going to be June very soon, so the finals are going to be here. And then the offseason, the offseason is always full of a lot of content. Like last offseason, I was pretty much recording every day. But I'm going to get better. I promise y'all I'm going to get better. But I might just have to talk about a little bit of everything because we got two teams, like I said, in the conference finals already with the Heat. And also the Warriors just made it last night. And then we have two game sevens. Two game sevens between series that looked like they could have been over. At least one of them definitely I thought was over. We'll talk about that. But I think I'm going to start there, man. But leave a like, subscribe if you are new. We're going to get better recording content, I promise y'all. But let's go ahead and talk about the Celtics Bucks. This has been the series of the playoffs so far. Look, it's had a little bit of everything. Neither team has been able to win two games in a row. There's been 4 road wins in the series. When you look at some other series like Mavs Suns, no team has won on the road. No team was one on the road in that series, but in this series, Celtics Bucks, 4 road wins between the two teams. It's been back and forth, a lot of close games, a lot of crazy finishes, and the stars came to play. The stars came to play last night. I got to give my shout outs to Jayson Tatum, bro. I got to give my shout outs to Jayson Tatum because early on in that game, Game 6, on the road, he was taking a lot of threes. He was, and I was just like, man, I was watching it. I was kind of talking on Twitter. I'm like, man, JT keeps getting the switches. He keeps getting Connaughton on him. Grayson Allen. George Hill's been guarding him a lot this series. And he's just not taking advantage. I'm like, man, attack. Get in attack mode. And eventually the threes really started to fall. And late in that game, fourth quarter, he was hitting the toughest of shots. And you could just tell he was locked in. I believe he had 46 for the game. Elimination game early in his career. That's like that was a legacy type performance for Jayson Tatum, even though he's only 24 years old. Big time performance, man. And when his team needed him the most down the stretch in that game, he was there on the road against the defending champs. Giannis had a big time game. Giannis had 40 plus points for the third time in this series. Couldn't stop Giannis, but nobody else for the Bucks was really able to get going. And I think the difference was Tatum had his big game, obviously. He was amazing, hitting tough shot after tough shot. Jaylen Brown had a nice third quarter. He came out the gates, really kept the Celtics going in the third quarter. They were able to build, I think, an 18-point lead. And then Marcus Smart redeemed himself, bro. After Game 5, the meltdown in Boston, which is just like PTSD from early parts of the season for me, just seeing this team lose leads late in games, I was really just like completely in shock about what Marcus Smart did at the end of that game. Like, he had 3 straight possessions where he kind of effed up. And one of them was a free throw rebound, which he couldn't corral, which kind of happens, especially when Giannis is at the line. When he misses bad. And he just wasn't able to corral the rebound. Bobby Portis grabbed it, put it up. They went up 1. But then the play after the timeout, down by 1 point, I don't know what Marcus Smart was thinking. There was still 11 seconds left. It looked like he kind of panicked, which is just completely opposite to what he did in Game 1 of the Nets series when he didn't panic and he waited till the right moment to make the right play. And in this game, he didn't. Jrue Holiday obviously made an amazing play defensively, blocking the shot and then throwing it off Marcus Smart out of bounds. But very just uncharacteristic from Marcus Smart, who has grown so much as a player. His IQ is definitely a lot better than what it used to be. And then the final play just got ripped by Jrue Holiday, had Tatum cross court wide open, still with time left. Just 3 blunder plays, but he was big last night. I think he had 20 plus points. He was hitting his 3-point shot, and he just wasn't making any bonehead decisions. Like, that was what I like to see from Marcus Smart. His defense was good all game long. Even when he was getting switched on to Giannis, he was holding his own. He drew some offensive fouls. He was very big last night. Him and Jaylen Brown were big time in a game where Al Horford didn't play good, which in this series, Al Horford has probably been like the, top 4 player in this series. Like, he's been amazing. He's looked like, better than he's ever looked in this postseason, which is crazy. But in a game where he didn't play well, Grant Williams was not shooting the ball well. Peyton Pritchard off the bench could not buy a bucket. It was big for Smart and Brown to really be the second and third guys for Jayson Tatum, who just had an unreal performance, man. It was just tough shot after tough shot. And when he's going, there's not really anybody that can just stop him. It's really just himself that can stop him. Like, that's really it, man. But he was big time. For the Bucks, it was just like, Giannis was doing his thing, but outside of that, like, Drew Holiday was okay. He got off to a nice start, but he kind of slowed down. Bobby Portis wasn't really as impactful scoring the ball. He was rebounding really well. And then guys like Grayson Allen wasn't hitting shots. Pat Connaughton made some plays in the fourth quarter, but it was a little too late. So now, I thought the series was over after that Game 5, man. I'm like, man, there's no way the Celtics go into Milwaukee and win Game 6 on the road. I thought Giannis would have to drop 50 if he really had to. And here we are, Game 7. The Celtics have played 11 Game 7s at home in their franchise's career. And I know it probably looks weird me holding the microphone, but I want my audio to be better. So we're sticking with the microphone for now. But the Celtics have played 11 Game 7s in their franchise's history at home. And their one loss is to LeBron James. 2018, Cavs Celtics. That was the young Celtics, Jayson Tatum, Brown, and them. I believe that's the only Game 7 that they have played together. No, they played 2. One was in the bubble. So this will be their third Game 7. This like nucleus of guys. Tatum, Brown, Horford, Smart. These guys have all been. I think Smart maybe has played in one more Game 7 against the Wizards, and Brown too. But he wasn't really a factor in that series. So young team, like young inexperienced kind of. The Bucks are a championship team. Had to play a Game 7 on the road last year. They've been through the gauntlet, man. They've been through the gauntlet. Giannis has played a number of Game 7s also. He also has lost in Boston in the Game 7. So interesting, man. I'm not counting Giannis out at all. It's just the way the series has gone, man. It's so unpredictable. Like, I won't be surprised if the Bucks find a way to win this game and become just the second team ever to win the Game 7 in Boston. But also won't be surprised if the Celtics control this game like they have controlled much of the last 9 quarters. Because Game 4 in Milwaukee, the Celtics dominated the fourth quarter. They dominated the entirety of Game 5 except for the final minute. They dominated Game 5 except for the final minute and a half. And then Game 6, they led wire to wire basically. I think the Bucks had a lead in the first quarter. And then once the Celtics got a 10-point lead, it was pretty much wraps from that point. The Bucks didn't really get within, I think, 8 or 9 points in the second half. So Celtics have dominated much of this series. Game 2 dominated. The only games they really got thoroughly outplayed was Game 1, half of Game 3, and half of Game 4. So it's this series has been so unpredictable. I picked the Celtics before the series. I picked them in 6. We're in Game 7. I'm rocking with my Celtics, of course. But I would not be surprised if Giannis finds a way to win this game. He's shown that he doesn't need much help in this series because he's going to get his 35, 40 points. The Celtics, I think they're content letting him get his 35, 40 points. Making it tough on him, of course, because he's getting 40 points on 30 shots. They're making it tough, but he's getting his, but it's just limiting others. You can't let Drew Holiday get 25. Can't let Bobby Portis come off the bench, get 17, 18 points, and then 10 rebounds. Can't let Grayson Allen get going, which they've done a good job. Pat Connaughton, you can't let him get going. Because when he's hit 3 or 4 threes, it's tough for the Celtics to win a game in this series. I'm rocking with Boston, of course. This has been such a great series. If I wasn't a fan of the Celtics, I would really be enjoying this series. As a basketball fan, I am, but as a Celtics fan in me, my anxiety is through the roof. But sadly, I will not be able to watch Game 7 because I got to work during Game 7, which is just so terrible. I can't believe it, bro. So hopefully the Celtics pull it out, but may the best team win because the Bucks have shown why they are a championship team, and I think the Celtics have shown why they can win a championship this season, man. I don't want to count anybody out. I don't want to count Miami out, but it feels like the winner of this series is probably going to be the favorite going into that next series. But Miami is no slouches, man. We're definitely going to talk about them. But I want to talk about the other series that's going to 7 games. Series where no team has won a road game. The Suns and the Dallas Mavericks. I picked Phoenix in 7 before the series. Said it on my podcast, obviously, because on this channel I have not been talking much basketball. But I said Suns in 7 because I didn't know what was up with Devin Booker. And the Suns have just 2 different teams, home and away, 2 different teams. At home, they've dominated the entire series. At home, they have dominated the series. Even if Luka's going to get 40, nobody else is getting off. Book, Chris Paul, Mikal, those guys have looked different at home. They've looked totally different at home. Jay Crowder hitting his shots, Ayton dominating both sides of the floor. They've looked so much different at home compared to the road. And you can say the exact same thing about the Mavericks. I know it's easy to say that because both teams have not won a road game, but there hasn't really been a game that has been like remotely close in this series to where it's like, man, if X and Y happened, you know, this series is over in 6. None of that has happened, man. Phoenix at home, they've been shooting the lights out, really defensively been locked in, limiting Jalen Brunson, limiting Spencer Dinwiddie. Maxi Kleber had maybe a game on the road, but that was really it. Like, he had a half on the road where he played really good. Dorian Finney-Smith has been totally different. Just polar opposite series for these two teams, man, home and away, which leads me to think it's like, I have to take Phoenix at home. Like, I really do. I just can't see a world where all of a sudden it clicks for Dallas to where, oh, now all of a sudden Brunson's playing elite on the road. Maybe Dinwiddie wakes up. Maybe Dorian Finney-Smith starts hitting the shots. I don't know, man. It's game 7. And the Suns team has a little bit too much, I don't want to say experience, because it's like outside of Crowder and Chris Paul and a little bit of Landry Shamet, like this team, most of this team's playoff, and JaVale McGee, most of the team's playoff experience came last season. And they haven't had to play a game 7 yet together. It's such a weird series, man. I mean, I have to take Phoenix, but it's like, I just don't see a world. Obviously, I think Luka's going to do his thing because he's a big-time performer. Played in the Game 7 last season, and he had, I think at the time, the most points ever in the Game 7. I think he scored like 46 or 47 points. Like, he was amazing. But Brunson didn't even play really in Game 7 last year. If he did, it was limited time because Rick Carlisle had him in the doghouse for some reason. And then it's like, you know, guys, every possession matters in the Game 7. Guys get a little tight in the Game 7. Like, guys get, you know, nervous in Game 7s because it's like every single possession matters. And Luka doesn't need much help. That's the thing. But it's going to take a little more than just like maybe a couple threes from Dorian Finney-Smith or Maxi Kleber giving you like 12 off the bench, or Bertans comes in. It's going to take more because you're on the road. The Suns team, the pressure's really on them because they've been the best team all season long. And if they go out in the second round, it's going to be pretty embarrassing. It's going to be embarrassing for Chris Paul, Book, Monty Williams, all those guys, DeAndre Ayton, all those guys. It's going to be very embarrassing. So Mavs are playing with house money, but I just can't see a world where Phoenix loses a Game 7 at home with everything that's happened in this season and also this series, where just no team has played well on the road. Hopefully it's a good competitive game because we haven't really gotten that this series. I just can't see a world where Phoenix loses, though. So I'm going to take the Suns, but I said it would go 7, and I just felt home court would really make the difference. It's tough to win a Game 7 on the road. Not very many people win Game 7s on the road. But it does take a special talent to do so, and Luka Doncic is that. He is that. He's shown that in this series. Brunson has been stepping up at home. Dorian Finney-Smith had a big game. I love this Mavs team, man. I feel like they're like a piece and a half away from this being like completely flipped. Like, the Mavericks are one of the teams to beat in the Western Conference. And who knows, if they get out of this series going against the Warriors, I'm not as confident in the Warriors as other people have been this season. I've been saying that all year long. I was not as confident in the Golden State Warriors. And we'll switch to that series real quick. Kind of a crazy series. Injuries. John Morant, Gary Payton II, Dillon Brooks getting ejected and suspended. It's been a series all over the place, man. Game 1 and 2 could have easily been 2-0 Memphis, 2-0 Golden State, but it was 1-1 after that. Warriors blew their doors off in Game 3, and John Morant goes out, who was the best player in the series before he got hurt. Game 4, the Grizzlies dominated the entire game until the final like 3 minutes or so, and then Steph Curry got going in the fourth quarter, and you know, they were able to get that win. Then Game 5 got absolutely dominated by the Grizzlies. Like, the Grizzlies dominated Game 5. They were up by like almost, I think, 60 points at one time. Like, how does that? I don't know, man. I mean, we saw the Bucks last season trail by 49 in the playoff game. Ended up winning the championship, which is like, okay, that's fine. But they were doing that against KD and Kyrie Irving. KD and Kyrie Irving when the Nets looked like the most dominant team in basketball. Now it's like, you're doing this against, no disrespect, but, you know, Tyus Jones, Dillon Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr., like, you're doing this against these guys. Xavier Tillman, Brandon Clark. Like, I don't know how much confidence I have in that. They did bounce back. Game 6 Clay is a real thing. It was big time last night. Kevon Looney dominated the boards. And the craziest thing about Kevon Looney, he's only 26 years old. You look at him, and it feels like he's been in the league for so long. You'd be like, man, he's got to be at least 30, 31. Only 26 years old, which is crazy. Crazy to think that, man. But he dominated. Draymond had a big-time game. Almost had a triple-double. I think he had like 14, 15 rebounds and like 8 assists. He was big time. But, you know, Steph didn't shoot well, but he was effective still. Steph's always pretty effective. He had a pretty nice series, too. I will say that much, too. And, yeah, Wiggins came alive last night, but I don't know. I think whoever they match up against, whether it's the Suns or it's the Mavericks, I don't think Golden State will be overwhelming favorites. They might be on paper against the Mavs, but I don't really think so. I don't think they should be. Obviously, the Suns have not been the team that we thought they would be in the playoffs. They've kind of let their series drag out just a little bit. But maybe the Warriors will make me eat my words. Maybe they will, but I've been saying all season, I'm just not as confident in this team as previous Warriors teams. Obviously, they had Kevin Durant, but even like pre-KD, like those Warriors teams I was very confident in. This team's just missing something. I don't know what it is, but it's not the same Golden State team that we've seen in the past. And I'm just not as confident in that at all. But we'll see. They are in the conference finals. First time since 2019, so it's been a little while, but they're back. Their first playoffs back. They are back in the conference finals, so shout out to them. And then we'll talk about the last series, which was probably one of the more, I don't want to say boring, but it was kind of boring for like the first like 3 games. And after that, it was pretty. Well, Game 5 was kind of boring. Game 6 was a blowout. So it was a boring series. Let's tell it what it was. Joel Embiid for the Sixers missed the first 2 games. Miami didn't even play their best basketball the first 2 games, and they still dominated those games. Game 1 was probably the best chance that Philly had to win one of those games in Miami, and I call a spade, and I said after the James Harden trade, like, James has to be good, like he has to step up, and especially when Joel Embiid's out, you got to split one of those first 2 games, and they weren't able to do that. They just weren't, and it's like James just wasn't. He had one game in this series where he looked like something of James Harden. Probably his best game as a 76er, which was Game 4, where he was stepped back and he was getting to the cup at will. Then after that, didn't show anything. Like, got to be better, James. Like, I don't really like what Joel Embiid said afterwards, after Game 6, where James Harden only scored 11 points, only shot 9 shots, only shot 2 in the second half, which we've seen this from James Harden before. But he's been like that most of the postseason, most of this season, just like a glorified playmaker, like a 17-10 kind of guy, which is still good. But you didn't hold out to trade Ben Simmons, to also give up assets, to potentially have to pay this man $50 million a year to be a glorified, Steve Nash, John Stockton type of dude, like a 16, 17, and 10 assists kind of guy. You did not hold out to do all that. And I'm as big as James Harden fan as you will find on this platform. As big a James Harden fan as you will find. But they didn't wait that long to trade for a James Harden that's not going to be elite. And quite frankly, he said, well, he's not Houston James. This is what Joel said. He's like, basically, he's not Houston James Harden anymore. He's more of a playmaker. Which, that's fine. Okay, if he is regressing, like, it happens to the best of players, except for LeBron James. But it happens. And if that's the case, like, okay, that's cool. That's cool. But one, you didn't wait that long to trade Ben Simmons, who's an all-NBA caliber player. I don't care what you say about Ben Simmons. He's an all-NBA caliber player when he's playing at his best. You didn't wait that long to trade an all-star guy, all-NBA guy, to get a shell of James Harden. And two, if he is just a playmaker now, you're not winning a championship with him being the 17-10 kind of guy, unless Tyrese Maxey all of a sudden just vaults like he's a young all-star kind of guy. Like, that's the only way that's happening. You didn't wait that long, man. I don't care what anybody says. You did not wait that long to trade Ben Simmons. When Joel, you're having the best season of your career, you're an MVP type of guy this season. You didn't wait that long, man. And if a Houston James Harden, if 80% of Houston James Harden isn't walking through that door, or early Brooklyn James Harden's not walking through that door, unless major changes all of a sudden happen, if there are more, you can flip Tobias Harris and, free up some cap space. I don't know. Unless something crazy happens, not winning a championship. They're just not, man. They needed James Harden to be elite, and he wasn't elite in what they needed him to be, which is unfortunate, man, because this is Joel's best season. He played the most games he's ever played in the season. It's going to be tough, man, moving forward. They got some decisions in the offseason to make. How much are you going to pay James Harden? He said he's willing to do whatever it takes for the team to win. I'll believe it when I see it for sure. I love you, James. I love James Harden, but man, take care of your body, bro. Because I want to see him be successful. I want to see Joel be successful too, man. I like the process. I like everything that's happened in Philly, other than like all the drama. But the process of getting all these picks and then just drafting guys, trading people away. Like, I like that team building aspect. Shout out to Sam Hinkie, but Philly loses in 6. Yet to make a conference finals with Joel Embiid on this team. They said Doc Rivers is going to be back. Let's talk about the Miami Heat, though, because I feel like one of the more disrespected 1 seeds ever. I feel like the East has a lot of those because I remember the Hawks won 60 games. Nobody believed in them. In 2017, my Celtics were the 1 seed, and we weren't even favored in our second round series. We almost lost in the first round. So it's like the East has had some kind of, I don't want to say weaker, but like 1 seeds that nobody really believed in. And I feel like the Heat fall under that category. I feel like they do. But Miami is in the conference finals, second time in 3 years. The last 6 times I think they made the conference finals. I think it was 6. Yeah, the last 6 times they made the conference finals, they went on to go to the championship. So I think the Heat are a team that just can't be overlooked anymore. I feel like I fell victim to this. I remember there was a point in the season where I was kind of scared of the Heat, and then there was a point where I'm like, if the Celtics match up with them, I'm confident. And I did just say earlier, like, it feels like the winner of Milwaukee Celtics will be in the NBA Finals, but that's kind of foolish of me to say because the Heat have been playing really good basketball in the postseason at home. They have not lost a game yet. They've dominated really every home game. They've been amazing. They've been amazing at home, and on the road, they win the games that they need to win. They win the games that they need to win, and when you have home court, it just takes one road win to really shift the series. Like, that's really all it takes. So, look, I really like what this Heat team has done. Kyle Lowry's been out, but they really haven't missed him. When he was trying to play, he just didn't look like he was really helping because he just looked old. The hamstring did not look good. He was not hitting any shots. So just let him sit out as long as possible because you got the guys like that can come in, maybe not impact the same as Kyle Lowry, but still have an impact. Jimmy Butler has been a top 3 or 4 player in this postseason. For a while, I think he was the best. Giannis has stepped up recently. Luka's been amazing. But Tatum's been great too. But Jimmy Butler's been up there. Like, if you say he's been the best, I ain't mad at you. He's been amazing this postseason. He's been great. And Max Strus stepped up big at the end of the series. Duncan Robinson still getting like DNPs and stuff, which is kind of weird. Because they were missing 3-point shooting, but he started to play a little more towards the end of the series. Bam's had his games where he hasn't been good, then he's had his games where he's been really good. This Heat team, they got so many different guys. PJ Tucker is a dog. We know that. So many different guys defensively that can just match up with whoever. Jimmy hitting his outside shot, really controlling the game, dictating the game as well as anybody in the league right now. He's been great. Spoelstra, we know he's one of the best coaches in the league. This Heat team could easily be in the NBA Finals again. Able to get Philly out of there in 6, and they can easily make it to the finals once again. And this time they can win it. They can win. I don't think anybody really believed in them too much against the Lakers because I think a lot of people were kind of a little surprised that they made it in the first place. But I think now they've learned from that. Tyler Hero's better. They got the pieces around Jimmy Butler and Bam and Tyler Hero to really make some noise and potentially win a championship, man. I think everybody as the NBA community, it's just time to okay, the Miami Heat are for real. They're a special team. They may not have the top 5 player on their team like some other guys do. They don't got the Steph Currys. They don't got the Lukas. They don't got the backcourt of a Chris Paul and Devin Booker. They don't have a Tatum. But they got Jimmy Butler. They got Bam. They got Spoelstra. They got 6 Man of the Year Tyler Hero. And And they got guys that are just dogs, guys that, were G Leaguers, guys that were, D2, D3 players, guys that were undrafted. They got dogs, people that want it. It's a team that looks hungry. And sometimes when you're hungry, you got the heart of a champion. And you got special players, because they do have special players. You have a chance to win a championship. And I think going in the bubble, learning from that experience, this team has what it takes to win. So I'm excited to see it. We'll see who they match up with. We got 2 Game 7s tomorrow, which we haven't had any so far this postseason. We got 2. This has been one of the best second rounds that I've seen in quite some time. I don't think last year was pretty good. Last year was pretty good. There was one sweep though last season. We got 6 and 7 game series. 2 7 games on both sides of the conference. Yeah, this has been a fun postseason. Definitely gonna get to recording more frequently during the week. So just be on the lookout. Make sure you got post notifications turned on. I know this was a long video, but we had a lot to catch up on because I've been slacking. I've been letting y'all down. So I'm back for real this time. And the playoffs, 2 Game 7s. Let me know who y'all got. And then let me know who y'all got in the conference finals after y'all predict the Game 7s. But I'm going Suns and I'm going Celtics. I'm taking the home teams. But we'll see, man, because those series have been wild.